Check out this video on YouTube entitled Sovereign Citizen Pseudo-Lawyer Mark Stevens, Jurisdiction.
That video was crazy. What I'm hearing isn't any confusion on the part of the objectors. They appear to be challenging the legal conception of jurisdiction on the basis of actual reality, not on the basis of law, which often does not correspond with reality, but with the arbitrary whims of men. True jurisdiction, in real life, ends at the border of your validly owned property, be that the tips of your toes, your car door, or your white picket fence. Government has no valid property claim over a county or a country, so their courts have no basis for being permitted to hear anything.
Thank you for your comment. You have an interesting yet juvenile take on reality.
What could be more juvenile than grown adults subjecting themselves to the rule of a parental institution?
A grown-up acting like this.
Yeah, like that, except backed up by irrefutably sound logical reasoning.
Yeah, juvenile logical reasoning.
Logical reasoning has age ranges now? I don't even think you know what you meant by that. Peach pie is delicious is an opinion. Peach pie is fattening is a claim. Your reasoning is boring is an opinion. Your reasoning is juvenile is a claim. The former is describing a subjective reaction. The latter is describing an objective quality. Opinions need not be supported by evidence, but claims do. So in what sense is my reasoning juvenile? Interestingly enough, to imply the statement, "You're not the boss of me" is childish or otherwise inappropriate, is to necessarily suggest that "you are the boss of me" would be more mature or appropriate. Do you believe this to be the case? That it behooves a mature adult to take this position relative to another human being with whom they have no mutually consensual arrangement? So two babies are born, presumably with equal rights, but then at some point, without mutual input from both parties, one of those babies becomes a master and the other becomes their slave. What is the basis for this inequality of rights?
Since I authored my comment, I chose the context. Whether I consider something juvenile is my subjective opinion, your differing opinion notwithstanding.
Well, if you're satisfied with holding opinions unsupported by any rational basis whatsoever, then I suppose we can't expect you to perform critical analysis for us that you won't even do for yourself. I guess we'll just have to chalk you off of the fallen and focus our attention on those that earnestly desire to align their thought with truth. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, however, that you're shirking your natural responsibility as an intelligent being, particularly if your profession involves you having a hand in the fate of others.
Opinion, a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge, an estimation of the quality or worth of someone or something. A belief, judgment, or way of thinking about something, a thought or belief about something or someone, what you think or believe, a belief, impression, judgment, or prevailing view held by a person. A personal view, attitude, or appraisal. Cambridge English Dictionary, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, Oxford English Dictionary, Collins English Dictionary, yourdictionary.com, and dictionary.com. I fail to see why my opinion matters so much to others when it absolutely does not affect them. My granny always told me, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Your granny qualified her recommendation to wear the shoe by suggesting that it first be discovered to fit. We are challenging your determination that the shoe of juvenile fits the foot of my reasoning.
Granny was saying you have to decide for yourself if the other person's opinion is true about you.
And I don't care what any dictionary says, to define an opinion as a thought or belief about something or someone is unacceptably broad. It describes every possible thought, and thus no new content is offered by its application.
I don't care that you don't care. That definition fits the context in which I used the term.
So you're saying you had a thought, and that the thought was shared with no expectation of evaluation. You're also making no distinction between opinion and fact, since both are thoughts about something. So by your standard, people can say anything whatsoever and should not expect or abide any challenge regarding the nature of that content. So, Juan Galt is a 20-year-old woman. The sky is a black and white checkerboard, and cats are 50-foot reptiles who went extinct millions of years ago. No problem. Way to completely undermine language as a means of communication. Are you sure you're not an agent?
Yes, I don't understand why people care about my opinion. I don't care about others, no. As the first definition demonstrates, my context says, a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. Since accepting opinions is optional, I would not, as would many others, accept your fantasy opinion. Are you sure you're not a juvenile?
I did not offer an opinion. I stated that there is no valid basis for government and its courts to claim jurisdiction over any area whatsoever. If you would like to refute this with the extraordinary claim that there is valid basis, you are charged with the task of demonstrating how it is so. To simply say I don't agree does not satisfy the requirements of rational thought.
Valid is open to interpretation, therefore an opinion.
So words don't have meaning and logic doesn't exist. Very mature.
No, words have context also, and some people find having goved valid and logical in their opinion.
Logic is not subject to opinion. That's the whole point. It's the mathematics of thought. And never mind whether you have a responsibility to defend your opinions, basic self-respect and respect for others dictates that you do. You degrade yourself by offering defamatory statements without backing them up. Though, this comes as no surprise considering you belittle yourself by willingly accepting complete strangers with whom you have no valid contract as the boss of you. Couple this with a flair for arrogance, and it leaves one wondering, why doesn't he love himself? No need to answer us, but it's a question worthy of some introspection.
Your claim is what I responded to. Government has no valid property claim over a county or a country, so their courts have no basis for being permitted to hear anything. Valid is open to interpretation, and juveniles would have a different perspective on what is valid per government than a grown-up. Validity of GOAT has been a philosophical debate for millennia and will not be settled here or maybe anywhere.